Hey, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory that's due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of the great millstone, who all learn this truth from him who do well. Peace and salutations to the 144,000, the rest of the elect. And to you I say shalom. Coming to you back with another lesson through the Spirit. I'm entitled this one, A Kingdom Divided Cannot Stand. And right now, we're in the current kingdom of Esau, Edom, the self-proclaimed white man, which ultimately is being crumbled because of prophecy. Just like the prophecies would speak, that at the latter end, all these people from, these red-blooded Edomites to even our own people being divided amongst themselves, and especially here in America, Babylon the Great, this is where that great division is taking place, that left versus right wing, Democrat versus Republican, MAGA versus non-MAGA, people who took the jump shot versus those who don't. And we're coming into those times of that great hour of temptation, which ultimately is going to lead to majority of the world to take the micro C hit, which is the MOTB. That's going to be the ultimate, the division, which is ultimately going to be the non-elect of the nation of Israel versus the elect, which consists of the 144,000 and the rest of the elect, the large multitude. But before that happens, we gotta see, that this place implode from itself, and it's currently happening. Because now, people's hearts, which is, their minds, they're waxing colder and colder day by day, because people aren't able to afford their groceries, people aren't able to afford rent, their basic necessities, and they're blaming it on the government. They're blaming it on Jake. They're trying to blame it on everybody, which ultimately the main culprit of why, this kingdom is crumbling is because of Esau, Edom, the self-proclaimed white man. So really, you can't blame nobody but Esau, Edom, the wicked elite banking families. And that's why these Edomites and, even Jakes, the Republicans and that believe in the Constitution, their thing is, we should all unite and fight against, they like to say the deep state. And, they believe that Donald Trump was with them, that he was going to fight along with him. But now that he's stabbing him in the back and really showing his true colors, that really he's working for the tiny caps, the small hats. Now people really like, okay, damn, not even Trump is with us. So, now we got to unite. We got to form alliances and militias, and okay, Yahweh Shemel Shai is going to put it up on the spirit of these Americans, these Babylonians to unite, but eventually it's going to get so bad once that famine, that lack of bread hits, that's when these Babylonians are going to start turning on each other. When there's no when there's no food, the lack of bread, no water, the power outages, that's going to lead to these people really bugging the hell out. When that happens, that's ultimately when this kingdom is through. It's just going to collapse more and more, and that's already happening. With all the layoffs, people, bugging the hell out because they don't know where their next meal is coming from. And it's only going to get worse and worse. This is Matthew chapter 12 and verse 24. But when the Pharisees heard it, they said, this fellow, which is speaking about Yahweh Shai, did not cast out devils, but by Beelzebub, the prince of the devils. Verse 25, and Yahweh Shai knew their thoughts and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. And that's what's happening. These people are divided now more than ever, because, a couple decades back, people, were more united. You were able to say, hello to your neighbor, and people were more friendly. But after what happened during the 2020 ordeal, the C-19, people are just more divided than ever. But it was by design. Esau, Edom, he imposed all these different laws. You got to have the face diaper on, and 6 feet apart, and all that. Social, the D word. And what that did is just put these people more at a distrust with each other. Because now it's to the point where, nobody trusts each other. The whole world is just on edge all the time. People having road rage, and that's letting you know that this kingdom is through. Babylon the Great, America, the kingdom of Esau, Edom, it's about to collapse. Verse 26, and if Satan cast out Satan, he is divided against himself. How shall then his kingdom stand? And that's why his kingdom is crumbling. You even have these wicked elite. Yeah, they all have the same plan, to micro-chip the whole world, to put that MOTB inside the whole world so they can have complete dominion through that digital prison, the digital slavery, by the way of AI, digital currency. You can't buy or sell if you don't take that micro-chip. Even they are at a disagreement. The whole Putin versus Trump and the Chinese president and Iran versus Israel. Really, these people may be pushing that. Okay, they're against each other, but really behind closed doors, they're all, laughing and shaking hands and laughing at the people, because really that's the main point is for the people. They call them the goyim to be divided against themselves, and then it's working. Eventually it's going to get to the point where these people, they're not going to no longer trust each other. Every man's going to be out by himself. This is Matthew chapter 10 and verse 34. Think not that I ain't come to send peace on earth. I came not to send peace, but a sword. So Yahushua isn't putting that spirit of, everybody loves each other like Christianity. No, Yahweh Shemel Shai is putting that spirit of division among the whole earth, because ultimately that's what's going to happen before, that this kingdom fully gets destroyed. People are going to be against each other. Just like a couple years back, if you didn't have that jump shot, you weren't able to come to the family gathering. You weren't able to come to the grandma's house and grandpa's house, or your own siblings' house, because that's the times we're living in. We're living in the times of great division, amongst all these people, amongst these Americans, these Babylonians, and really throughout the four corners of the earth. It says, verse 35, for I am come to set a man at variance against his father, and a daughter against her mother, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. That's what's happening. These people, these families are being broken up. People are, bugging the hell out because they don't know where their next meal is coming from. They don't know where their next paycheck is coming from. They're being laid off. Women leaving their husbands because they're not making as much money as they used to. You got children, deleting their fathers and mothers, letting you know that spirit of division is out here on the planet Earth. That spirit of these people's hearts waxing colder and colder. And that word cold in the Greek, it goes into psycho. These people are in that psychotic mindset of, they don't care what the hell they do. They're just on that crash out, vibration. These people are ready to crash out. They're crashing out right now. I'm going to get that scripture real quick. I don't want to butcher it. This is Luke chapter 23 and verse 31. And it reads, for if they do these things in the green tree, what shall be done in the dry? So if these people are bugging out while, you're still able to go to the grocery store, go to your jobs, still go to the Thanksgiving family dinner, still go to Christmas, still, drive your car wherever you may be. And, you got people, shooting each other, the road rage. How much more when people's stomachs are touching their ribs, when they get laid off and never have a job ever again, when they're seeing their little ones starve to death? That's when people are really going to feel it. So if these people are bugging out right now, how much more when the food supply gets cut off, when the power gets cut off, when they can no longer turn on Netflix, when reality is just right in front of their faces? These people are really about to feel it. But ultimately it's because of their wickedness, because really, the wicked of our people, the 2/3 of the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans here in America, because the wickedness that goes on all around the planet Earth, but really mainly here in America, the mother of all harlots. This is why America is going to get really touched, because this land has really never known a major war like that, other than the Civil War. But ultimately, this place is about to be touched, the virgin. It's about to really know You know what sorrow is. Different calamities are about to hit it. This is 2nd Ezra chapter 15. And I'm going to start at verse 15 or 14. It says, woe to the world and them that dwell therein. So woe to this current world, to this current age. Because these people are proud as all hell. They've been proud all these years, especially these Edomites, and these heathens, thinking that their kingdom was going to last forever. But now that it's crumbling, now they're like, oh, shit, we need to unite together. They're telling Jay, oh, we need to unite, and fight the government. Man, Jay ain't about to unite with these crazy-ass Edomites. Yeah, you're going to have some Jays, but for a majority, Jay is going to, fight for themselves. And even these Edomites, they're thinking that they're buddy, with their, their self-formed militias. Ultimately, it's going to get to the point where they're going to start turning on each other. Verse 15, for the sword and the destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. And that's what's about to happen. Because the modern day sword, the gun, is going to get to that point. It's going to get to the point where these people don't have any food. They don't have any, shelter. So they're going to have to go around Babylon, the Great America, and just start taking. Because really, that's just going to be reality. Is going to be survival. Every person for themselves. All that spirit of uniting and, trying to fight the government, that's not going to happen. It says, verse 16, for there shall be sedition among men and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their action shall stand in their power. So these people are going to be like, man, fuck the police, fuck the government, fuck the mayors, the politicians. We're not going to listen to their law. And they're already in that spirit right now, but how much more? Well, they don't have any food. They don't have any raiment. They don't have any electricity. That's really when they'll be like, oh, shit, all right. We had enough. This government is not for us. And they're really realizing that right now, but how much more when all hell breaks loose? Verse 17, a man shall desire to go into the city and shall not be able. And that's what's happening right now, with this whole government shutdown that opened up, but it's just supposed to fund it through December. And then eventually it's going to get shut down again, Lord willing. But all that is leading to all these military checkpoints being set up, and then eventually, if you don't have the micro C-HIB, you can't come into the city. You can't come into this 15-minute city. That's why Esau Edom is doing all these wildfires, these natural disasters, because he's building up the infrastructure for those 15-minute cities. Verse 18, for because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. Because of pride of these Babylonians, these Americans, these Edomites, and even 2/3 of our wicked ass people here in America, proud as all hell, thinking that America is going to continue on forever. The Civil War is not coming. Everything's going to continue as it's been, but that's not the case. Yahweh Shemel Shah is about to really show what being divided means. And other than the elect, the elect are the only ones who are united, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shemel Shah, while the rest of these people, they're bugging the hell out. They don't know where they're going to get another job. They don't know where their next meal is going to come from. But not the elect. Yahweh Shemel Shai is going to cover his elect, because ultimately they have faith. They trusted in the will of Yahweh Shemel Shai. Because in order for the kingdom of heaven to come, this place has to collapse. Civil war has to happen, race wars, martial law, all hell breaking loose. World War III, the mass implementation of the MOTB. Verse 19, a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. And that's what's going to happen. People aren't going to be like, oh, shit. I've been knowing my neighbor for 20 years, watching his kids grow up. Man, all that's out the window when there's no food in the grocery stores, when people's stomachs are touching their backs. A lot of people are going to resort to cannibalism. They're going to eat their own neighbors, that they've been knowing their whole lives. All that buddy and, rubbing elbows with your neighbor. That's about to be done away with, because people aren't going to have no food. People aren't going to have any electricity. So they're going to go from house to house, especially to these doomsday preppers. These people already got their IP addresses. They're just waiting for that moment so they can, storm in and take all their shit, and do away with, put them to death, all these doomsday preppers, but that's what the world has coming because of all the pride, all the wickedness that goes on around, especially for our, 2/3 of our wicked ass people that refuse to acknowledge Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, but that's what the world has coming. The world, this current world, it's not going to be united and, they're going to form a new righteous Edomite rulership. No, that's about to be out the window because as long as this devil is in rulership, this world cannot know full, being in peace, being united, because all this devil does is just divide people amongst themselves. And this is the final go around of these people, just going all out, a battle royale, but that's pretty much the point. Praise, this is edifying to the elect. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bashim Yahushai, Bashim Rakakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who all in this truth from who drew well. Peace and salutations to the 144,000, the rest of the elect. Unto you I say shalom.